Good morning and welcome to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, AM 1460, and online worldwide at WRUL.com. Cole Carter alongside Chris Myers. Haley Winkleman across the hallway getting us on the air. The Saturday Morning Sports Show is brought to you by Little Giant Grocery Outlet, Rice Motor Company, Hale Body Shop, Carmi Lumber Company, Pro Rehab, People's National Bank, Taylor Eye Care, Bush & Associates CPAs, Wabash General Hospital, Hamilton Memorial Hospital, Rush Appliance, Citizens National Bank, Nancy J. Winter CPA, Cherry Street Automotive, Southern Illinois Trading and Supply, First Bank, Expressway Ford, Slay's Carpet, Farrell Hospital, Country Financial Representative Kyle Hosick, Wabash Christian Village, Invenergy, and Jansen Auto Group. Well, last night the Carmi White County Bulldog football team fell to Johnston City in Week 9 of the IHSA football season by a final of 36-6. The Bulldogs end the regular season with a 7-2 record. Johnston City finishes at 8-1. Chris, I think people scrolling through Facebook or the internet last night, seeing scores and seeing that being a 30-point win for the Indians, I don't think shows the kind of game that was. Obviously, even if you look at the stats department, which we'll get to here in a little bit, Carmi competed, and Carmi played hard, and I think with the way things went against El Dorado last week, that was a concern. How was Carmi was going to have to play pretty much flawless to be able to win this game, and a few mistakes here and there, a few big plays here and there by the Indians basically was the difference in the game.
It was, and after the El Dorado game, we were all saying to ourselves, if that Carmi team shows up next week, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, the positive is the Bulldogs competed last night. They showed up. They played well that first half. Going into the second quarter, it was an 8-6 ball game. And, without question, the positive thing was the way the boys played, the attitude, the heart, they came to play. There's no question effort-wise. They gave it everything they had. It just came down to, at the beginning, at the end of the day, what changed it in that second quarter were the things that Kurt Simon had said going into this game, we can't let happen, big plays. They're at 8-6. They're on about the 7-yard line. It's 4th and 7. Bulldogs have a chance to hold them out. Just a brilliant play call. Sneak the wing back right over the middle when you're having to play the run, and they get a score on that, and that's what good teams do, and you go later in the second quarter, and I said this last night, to me, the one that changed the game was their second score of the second quarter when we had them 3rd and 17 on their own 33-yard line. If you get them off the field at that situation, make them punt, it is a different game. It's still a one-possession game. And then, your kids are believing you have a chance, try to put a drive together. But, like good teams do, snuck a wing back up the left sideline. Our secondary was committed to the run, kind of had to look in the backfield. He snuck up the sideline, hit him in stride. And, that play to me, a 66-yard touchdown with 5:07 left in the second is kind of just what tipped the scales a little too much. Yeah. But with that said, coming out in the third quarter, we held them scoreless third quarter, and at that point when we were down 24-6, it would have been easy to fold up tents and say, but our kids didn't.
Yeah.
So the final score being 36-8, it truly doesn't show how hard these kids played. It was just a matter of two big plays. That final touchdown was on a fumble. We tried to run an option to the left, something we hadn't done all season, fumble, scoop, and score. So I just call that kind of a garbage time touchdown. Yeah. But, it doesn't indicate the heart our kids played with last night. Because let's just face it, Cole, this team has just been dealt blow after blow with the injury bug. This was a team, we weren't deep numbers-wise. The one thing we couldn't afford, we said from day one, was injury. Caleb Siebers goes down week 4. Leading Southern Illinois in rushing at that point. 2-3 weeks later, Eli Bryant, your big defensive lineman, the space eater, an absolute critical component of your D-line, because we've talked about all year, even though he may not get the big sack numbers or the big statistical numbers,
just that presence
what his front. Presence, what he does by occupying space, he demands constant double teams. He creates opportunities for other players. And with him out, that was just a devastating blow to your defensive and offensive lines. And then on top of that, Beck Huff gets injured this week. So there's another receiver, defensive back out. So all in all, Johnston City, great football team, really. Just did what good teams do.
And really what the Indians were able to do defensively, or more or less what they were able to keep Carmi from doing last night. I obviously throughout the game, I knew Carmi didn't really get any big chunk plays. It was more small plays here and there. But when I got home last night and saw the stats, the Carmi had 69 rushing yards. I really just, I knew that we had a hard time, but man, it's like playing your 49ers. It's just, there's just nowhere to go.
Yeah, I mean, when you hold Noah Pollard to 27 yards, Andrew Dotson to 2 yards, I mean, that you're just playing some defense.
Yeah.
And Johnston City, without question, to me in the conference, not just because they're a good team overall, but defensively, they were the most impressive football team I had seen, even more so than Sesser, just because of the strength they had. They had a dominant down lineman. They had a defensive end, and names have already escaped me. That's what happens when you get old. But they had a 225, 235-pound defensive end who was just a grown man coming off the edge. Then Fort, their quarterback, playing, roaming around playing linebacker, corner, 6'4", 200 pounds, and then solid linebackers. Just at the skill positions defensively is where they're so good. And they just absolutely smothered our run game. And it's no secret. We are a run-heavy team. But to our credit, our offense, that first drive when we scored, mixed things up. We did a lot of it through the air, and that set some things up, allowed us to get in the end zone. Pollard scored on a touchdown pass. Play action, snuck him out in the flats, and, a good way to open the game. But at the end of the day, when you're a run-heavy team and it's your strength, and you hold Carmi to 69 yards, 69 yards is usually an average for one of our backs, minimum. And, you hold us to 6 first downs, 69 rushing yards, 126 yards of total offense. If your defense is doing that, you're going to win games.
Yeah. So, again, last night the Indians defeat Carmi-White County 36-6. They're in Week 9 of the football season. Of course, the playoffs are next weekend. Carmi will learn their playoff fate tonight. Here is what head coach Kurt Simon had to say after the game last night. Being joined by Kurt Simon, and Kurt, I think after last week, you kind of wondered, what was the effort going to be there tonight? I think there's no question the effort was there from your guys. Just 1, 2, 3 plays was the difference in that game.
Yeah, and you give all credit to Johnston City. They came out and played a really good game. They're big, they're physical, they're fast. They're a good football team, and of course we've got shorthanded with some injuries or whatnot. We're not necessarily the same team we were 4 weeks ago or whatever, but that's football. That's the way it goes. And, they made the plays tonight. We didn't.
Yeah. And you said that. You said this week it was going to come down to that. One was a 4th and 7. It's just a good play call. But this offense, I've been saying on Outline Coach, you don't realize how difficult it is for your linebackers to defend this. The backs are so tight.
Yeah.
The linemen are foot to foot. You can't see where that ball's going half the time. But you have to honor the run with the way they run the ball. When they set up the play action, it becomes so easy.
And it is that, but it all comes down to players. And they have some pretty good players. But like you said, I really don't doubt our effort. Mm-hmm. We just didn't make plays tonight. We weren't staying on blocks, and that's because they were doing a good job. They were flowing to the ball, and so it was really helping. Our run game could not get going at all, and so that's something we're going to have to get better at. We're going to see a similar team probably next week, but it gives us an opportunity. You got to reflect back on the season. We've won 7 out of 9 games. We've had some big injuries that have changed the course of our season, so to speak, or whatever. But we got a bunch of kids that work really hard, care about one another, care about what we're trying to do, and they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back and play a good game. I can recall back to week 2 or whatever against Hamilton County and didn't play very well, and then had an off week, and then came back and played Sesser really well and could have won the game. So it's just a matter of regrouping, doing well. Having a little bit different week as far as the schedule goes or whatever. But I believe in these kids. These kids will come back and play hard. And we did. You get an opportunity to play a playoff game. There's a lot of schools right now putting up their pads. We did things really good this year. And the week, you get a ball bounced the right way or whatever, and anything can happen. So my hats are off to Johnston City. They did a great job tonight. They're a good football team. But I'm looking forward to getting back together with our kids and doing our routine for another week.
I think what sums up, you talk about the heart your team plays with. Coming out at halftime 24-6, the kids could have just said, well, let's fold. The way they played the third quarter and the early part of the fourth quarter, they battled. They came out, got them off the field, had a good drive going, just couldn't quite finish it. But your team never quit playing.
No, they didn't. They just, JC just did a really good job of running the ball and keeping the ball. And that's, when you run the ball as good as they do, that's what it does. It keeps the ball away from our offense. I don't know what the time of possession was, but I'm sure it was lopsided a little bit or whatever. And then, of course, we had to get – but, of course, we've been trying to work on our passing game a little bit. And there was signs of it that we got a chance.
Yeah.
But we just got to get a little bit better. We can't put quite much arch on the ball. Got to throw some of those in there. You got to make sure we run this route and don't get tripped up and fall. We got a chance.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of our seniors. They've been a good group, good leaders all year long. And like I said, just looking forward to having another opportunity to play.
And I think lastly for me, sorry, Cole, I was just going to say, I think if anything, if there's the blessing in disguise from this, to me, that's a deep run playoff team you played tonight, without question. And it prepares you for next week.
Absolutely.
To play a quality opponent like this and battle this week. It's actually, hey, we've played a really good, now that prepares us. And we're battle tested. And going into the playoffs, I think we're going to be kind of up to speed and know what we got to do as far as whoever our opponent is. That's a really good test to get you to the postseason.
Absolutely. Yeah, you couldn't. And then even, I think about that for us, playing them last game of the year, Johnston City, who played all the others in our conference, and then their last two games, Assessor and Carmi. So they it's the same way with them as well. But, yeah, it's always good to play somebody really good at the end of the year. That's kind of when you're in a conference that's not a closed conference like ours, you always get your non-conference team, and you try to pick a couple, either 1 week 9, 1 week 1 or whatever, so you can get ready for the playoffs or whatever. But now, this is just one of those nights that you got to give credit where credit is due, and they did a great job. They got a good football team, but I'm proud of the way our kids battled through the whole thing, and I'm looking forward to going back to work with them, tomorrow and getting back on track Monday and seeing if we can put one together for next week. Yes, and, like you said, you never know where you're going to wind up. I know this year, there's a lot of years that we can get pretty close to where we think where we're going to go, where we're going to play, but there's a lot of 4-4 teams. Just kind of hard to see this year, but it looks like we could be an 8-9 seed, 8-9-10 seed somewhere in there. I mean, there's a chance that you could have a home playoff game again. Just depends on what all the other teams do or whatever, but.
So obviously,
got to put this one behind us.
It's not their last game, but those 8 seniors and what they mean to this program, and they really put all out there tonight. I know, especially Caleb. I'm sure he would have killed somebody to be out there tonight. But just how much has this group meant to you this year?
They're a great group of guys. They work hard together. They care about the game. And they're football players, especially, all of them. They've always been extremely coachable. They played on with a group of seniors last year that were very similar. They're still we feel like this is still the core of a good group of couple groups that came through together, and they've been a joy to coach. And I trust that they will come to work Monday. That's the biggest thing about it from a coaching standpoint is I don't have to worry about someone going to be here, someone not going to be here, this, that, these guys will be there, and they will believe that we'll put a game plan together and have a chance to win. And that's just a tribute to them, their work ethic, and their attitude. And I can't say enough about them. They've been a really good, really good group to coach.
Congratulations, Coach, because you mission accomplished, postseason, a lot to look forward to.
That's what you strive for. Obviously, we always try to. The first goal is to win enough games to get to the postseason. Win a conference championship. We got one of those two, and it's like I told those guys down there. I mean, winning a big game is great, and that's the great feeling when you walk out. You win a playoff game, and it's a whole nother story. Okay, and you're going to practice again the next week. It's a lot of fun. So it's a lot of work that goes into it. You're going to have a really good opponent. That's what the playoffs are like. You don't have any weak sisters in the playoffs, so to speak, or whatever. So you got to gear up and do it again. That's what it's all about.
Now, this is your 27th year, Coach. Correct me if I'm wrong.
27th year here.
This is your 18th year in the playoffs, so you're doing something right, Coach.
Well, it's gone all right.
Thanks for your time, Coach. We'll talk to you next week.
Congratulations.
That was Kurt Simon last night after the Bulldogs fall to Johnston City 36-6. And, of course, despite the loss, Bulldogs still going to play at least one more game, as Simon has brought the Bulldogs to the postseason for the 18th time since he's been here, and since 1997 was his first year here. But, man, 18 years since then in the postseason. He's doing something right, that's for sure. Looking at some other scores from around the area last night, excuse me, in high school football, in the Black Diamond, Fairfield and Edwards County, they played back on Thursday. Fairfield won that one 52-7. El Dorado defeats CZR 44-24. Mentioned with that Fairfield win on Thursday, they are now playoff eligible. They are 5-4 on the year. They've won 4 straight games. El Dorado and CZR, their seasons are over. Cesar completes the undefeated season. They take down Flora 46-6. Red Devils win their first conference title since 2009. In the Little Illini Conference, Casey Westfield defeats Paris 35-20. Mount Carmel over Lawrenceville 49-20. Newton over Marshall 40-28. Robinson just squeaks past Albany 36-35. In some non-conference games last night, it was Carterville defeating Anna Jonesboro 28-25. They have these sorted out very difficultly. DuQuoin over Murfreesboro, 39-7. Me and Chris talking during the break. That was battle of the number 1 team in 3A, number the 1 team in 4A as far as records. Yeah. 2 river schools, opposite sides, but very surprised with DuQuoin with the win over there. Not surprised by the win, but the score, how big of a win it was, 39-7. Murfreesboro falls to DuQuoin. DuQuoin is undefeated. Harrisburg defeats Benton 49-28. Harrisburg is now 6-3. They clinch a playoff berth. Benton is 5-4, so we'll see if they're able to get in. Mount Vernon over Alton 49-14. Mount Vernon clinches a playoff berth. Nashville over Shelbyville 54-20. That was actually kind of an upset. Shelbyville was 8-0. Nashville now 6-3, so they clinch a playoff berth.
If that Shelbyville name sounds familiar, remember, I think it was around 2016.
Oh, yes, I'm very
They came here. Yeah, you remember
very
that.
Well aware
you
of that
remember
one.
that one. You
Yes.
were there.
They had a very good quarterback who went on to play McKendree in Shelbyville, and that's still a possibility Carmi could see in the postseason. Pinckneyville over Massac County 23-6. And West Frankfort, this is a big one. West Frankfort defeats Hamilton County 30-24 in overtime. Hamilton County eliminated. If the Foxes would have won that game, they would have made it into the postseason. But the Foxes come up just short. They lose to West Frankfort last night, 30-24. So a lot of interesting games last night because you got, with the way it is, and like the River to River, if you win 5 games or the Little Illini, you're not guaranteed a playoff berth compared to what it is in the Black Diamond. So some of those bigger schools had to win 6 games in order to know if they're going to play. Some teams have 5 wins, and they're going to be watching their TV tonight like it's Selection Sunday, trying to figure out if they're going to be able to play again next week.
And the reason for that with those conferences is because every game, there are not enough teams in the conference that every game's a conference game. Yeah. 2 of your games are non-conference, so that you have to win X number of games in your conference to get in. So it makes it a little different.
And so waiting for the IHSA to update the playoff outlook. They haven't, but and again, it's really hard to guess where Carmi is going to be, who they're going to play next week. Talking to some coaches earlier in the week, what's the possibilities if we win or if we lose. I'm going to throw out these 4 teams, Chris, and I could be completely wrong, but Carmi could be anywhere from a 7 seed to a 9 seed. They could see Breeze Mater Dei, could see Lawrenceville, Nashville, or Pana. Nashville just beat an undefeated team last night. Lawrenceville fought with Mount Carmel, of course, Breeze Mater Dei. Carmi saw them a couple years ago in the playoffs, and Pana made a run last year. So, again, that's where that 8-1, 7-2 difference is compared to being at home or possibly having to make a long road trip. there's really no way of knowing.
And I don't know if they look at scores. If they look at how we played Cesar in week 4, a 2-point loss. You look at the score tonight or last night, and it's just going to depend. They're going to look at strength of schedule. Obviously Cesar and JC being in our conference, those are 2 really strong teams. That helps the cause. But you're right, Cole. It's just going to depend. When you're 7-2, you're kind of out there floating in the middle. When you're a 7-2, when you're 5-4, you know what you're getting. You're going to get a 9-0 more than likely. When you're 6-3, you're expecting an 8-1. But when you're a 7-2, it's rolling the dice. So, geographically, it'd be nice if we got Lawrenceville. Even better if we get them at home.
Yeah.
And kind of neat to see an old familiar NEC foe
Absolutely.
that we haven't played.
Yeah,
and probably
playing at home is still very much an option.
It's not out of the question.
Top 8 seeds will play a home
Yeah.
game in the first round.
Yeah, that would be great. And like you said, the opponent we just played a couple years ago, Breeze Mater Day. At least we've seen them.
Yeah.
There'll be some familiarity there, but either way, it's once you get in the playoffs and you're 7-2. If you're 7-2 and your record's low, it's pick your poison. When you're a 9-0, your first round game, you kind of look at it, it's a winnable game. But when you're in playoffs, 7-2, 6-3, it's pick your poison. Yeah. Every team is going to be tough.
So I can look at the scores. Breeze Mater Day, they did lose last night to Mount Zion, so they're 6-3. If we were to play Breeze, it would be at home. So if it's a 6-3 team, they're going to be coming here. Carmi won't play anybody better than 7-2. So no 8-1 school. So it's either going to be a 7-2 versus 7-2. Lawrenceville is 7-2 because they lost to Mount Carmel last night.
Okay. Was there other loss? And I'm just trying to think. Casey is in that conference.
Yes.
And
Casey Westfield is 1A.
They're 8-1, right?
Yeah,
their only loss was a 3-point loss to Mount Carmel.
Yes.
So here's something interesting. Cesar, as you said, is going to be 1A. Casey Westfield 1A. Look for that at some point.
Absolutely.
That's going to be a heck of a game. That Casey Westfield team is for real because they went into the pit, took Mount Carmel to the wire. Yeah. So that's a 1A game to keep an eye on if they meet. And
Cesar-Villay are undefeated. Will possibly be a 1 or 2 seed in the South bracket in 1A. As they're going to be a load for whoever they play. We've always said that the monkey on the back of the Black Diamond is they can't win playoff games. Saw the Indians go all the way to the semifinals this year, and I think out of these 4 teams, Fairfield, they're going to be in a tough spot being 5-4, but I have no doubt one of these 4 teams is going to win a couple of playoff games.
Absolutely, and we believe in the Bulldogs. Depending on who we draw, if we play our hearts out, we got a shot to get to advance. I agree with you. If Fairfield snuck in at 5-4, they're going to get a tough draw. Yeah, it's going to be a real tough sledding for them. But Cesar going 1A, they could do a lot. Yeah, depends when they would. Eventually they're going to meet Casey. And if Casey's like I said, what they're advertised, that could be a second, probably third round game if they get there. JC is going to be a 2A power. They're going to advance deep. So, I think the Black Diamond has the opportunity to shake that stigma of, even a 9-0 is one and done. I don't think that's the case. It wasn't last year, and I don't think it will be this year either.
So, again, tonight, the IHSA will announce the playoff field. You can watch that on the IHSA website, or you can stay tuned to the WRUL Facebook page. We will post the opponent and where that game is going to be at as soon as it's announced. They normally don't say what time the game will be until either tomorrow or Monday, but stay tuned to the Facebook page of WRUL for the Bulldogs opponent and where that will be at next weekend. We'll take our first break of the day. We come back. We will take a look at some other scores from Bulldog and Lady Bulldog teams this week. It's a Saturday morning sports show on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, AM 1460. Welcome back to the Saturday morning sports show here on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, AM 1460, and online worldwide at WRUL.com. Cole Carter alongside Chris Myers, Haley Winkleman across the hallway getting us on the air, as we will take a look back at what other CWCHS teams did earlier this week. Me and Chris mentioned the volleyball team. They begin regionals next Tuesday. They've had a really long week. They played the Edwards County tournament last Saturday. Probably didn't finish the way they wanted to. Finished in 4th place. They then had a couple of 2-set wins on Monday and Tuesday. Then you're playing 4 or 5 games a day at the Fairfield tournament. You're going to see some really good teams, but Man, you're going to jump right into regionals on Tuesday. That's got to be tough for those girls.
Those kids are going to need to rest tomorrow because, you played 5 games last Saturday, 2 games during the week, another 4 or 5 today. So that's
well, you had a JV tournament on Wednesday, and a lot of varsity players still play for the JV team as well.
Some of those kids have played almost 20 games in a week, so they're going to be tired. But it's, I guess that sport, it's the push to the postseason, and I believe we found out what the regional pairings where they're going to be at.
We've got that. So they will be in the Lawrenceville Regional, which is a part of the Pinckneyville Sectional. So before we get into the regional side of things, as far as this week, they defeated Harrisburg on Monday, defeated Grayville on Tuesday. That win against Grayville was their 24th win of the season, which ties them for the school record for most wins in school history. So all they got to do is win one of their 4 or 5 matches today, which is very likely. If they win one of those matches today, they will be the winningest team in school history. So
congratulations to those girls and Coach Lucas on a great season.
So, again, they'll play in the Lawrenceville Regional next week. They will play the winner of Lawrenceville and Toledo. They play on Monday, so Carmi plays the winner of that game Tuesday at 6 p.m. Then if they win that one, they'll go to the regional championship on Thursday, which in all likelihood will be against Robinson, who is the number 3 seed in that sectional. Carmi was the number 2 seed, or the southern side of that sectional. So Carmi got a good draw. We knew they'd be away from Fairfield. Man, Fairfield's just a load. Did you see Fairfield and North City played earlier this week?
Yeah.
Did you see that? North City won that one in 3 sets, and that would have been something to watch.
Yeah,
those are 2 of the best teams, if not the 2 best teams in all of Southern Illinois. But Fairfield, they're up north and the north side of the sectional. If Carmi was to see them again, it would not be until the sectional championship, actually. So Carmi, the chances of seeing Fairfield is still there, but it's going to be down the road. But Carmi still got to take care of what's in front of you. Obviously, they're worried about Toledo or Lawrenceville right now. They'll play them on Tuesday. But again, best of luck to Chris Lucas and the girls as far as today and next week. Just a great season they've had. They've been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Looking at also girls tennis, Johanna Smith, she played in the state finals yesterday and Thursday. Unfortunately, was not able to get a win there at state. Chris Cordy texted me and said that didn't win, but they had fun, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But just anytime you can make it to the state finals in any sport, that's awesome. And congrats to Johanna for such an outstanding accomplishment. And I texted Chris back. He hadn't replied yet, but I do believe this was his final year coaching girls tennis. I know it's his last year teaching. He still has boys in the fall, but he's been doing it for a long time. No doubt the best to ever do it here in Carmi, I think.
Yeah, he's had a great run as coach. And just to give you an idea how long he's been there, my junior year of high school, the fall of 1990 was his, yes, no. Thanks, Cole. Okay. It was close. But fall of 1990, his first year here at the school as a teacher. Yeah. I had him my junior year. That gives you an idea how long he's been there. The guy doesn't age, it doesn't seem like. But congratulations, on a great career as a teacher and a coach. A lot of kids, he's just think so fondly of him. And, he's been just a mainstay as a teacher, as a coach, and just, as a member of this community. And best of luck to him. I hope he has a great rest of the school year, and he's done a great job with the tennis program.
So again, Johanna Smith, congrats to her on a great season as well, and the girls tennis team as well. They finished in second place last week in the sectionals at Carbondale. So congrats to them on a great season.
Yes.
Cross country is running in the regional today. So as soon as we get word on that, we'll spread that information as well. As very very well could be a couple of runners that advance to sectionals. I know Lane Conaway, Connor Benham, Andrew Benham, one of the Benham brothers they were all conference last week, so they've had great seasons as well. So best of luck to them at the cross country regionals today. So that pretty much fall sports. It's coming to a close. Basketball right around the corner. I mean, we were already almost through October, which is hard to believe. But man, just the fact last night we were sitting there at week 9 of the high school football season blows me away. It's like week 1 was yesterday.
Yeah, football just seems to move so quick because it's one game a week. I don't know what it is. Just the fall itself. Once you get kind of into week 3, week 4, it just seems like the time just really goes. But the fall sports, all the programs, had great seasons, and some still going. Obviously, volleyball heading into their postseason, football starting the playoffs, and Cross country has some kids running today. Tennis team, again, congratulations to the girls on a great season. And golf, kudos to that. Some young men advance.
A couple girls and boys go to their
girls
sectionals,
too.
yep.
Yeah, so just a great fall sports season all around, and just hats off to all the coaches and all the players in every sport.
And I had it written down. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but in that win for the volleyball team back on Tuesday over Grayville, Lauren Brzezinski, who was only a junior, surpassed the 1,000 career assist mark in that win. So congrats to her on an outstanding accomplishment. Again, just a junior, and she's got all those assists in just 2 years. Didn't play much her freshman year, but congrats to her. And again, congrats to Carmi on what's been a great year. One win for them today will give them the school record for most wins in school history. We'll go ahead and take our final break of the day. We come back, we'll go through our Terrible 10 National Sports segment right here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, AM 1460. Welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, and AM 1460. Cole Carter alongside Chris Myers. Haley Winkleman across the hallway getting us on the air this morning. A reminder, stay tuned to the WRUL Facebook page tonight during the IHSA playoff pairing show. As soon as we learn who Carmi is matched up against, we will spread that word and try to figure out when it will be. Hopefully it's at home, but still just don't really know yet, but we'll find out tonight as far as who the Bulldogs will play. Looking at our Terrible 10 National Sports segment for this week, I'll be honest, I've not done very well at calculating the overall record, but Chris, it's probably a good thing for you. So we'll just do it week by week, and we'll call it good there. But last week, I do want to thank Amber Knight and the 103 Coffee Shop for letting us set out in front of their place last week for Corn Day for the sports show. We had my dad, Kenny Carter, as our special guest picker, and you and Kenny both went 6-4. I went 8-2, so a surprisingly good day for me.
Picking on the old guys.
Yeah. I'm definitely picking on the old guys. Yeah. So we'll run through our Terrible 10 picks for this week. We got 5 college football games and 5 NFL games. Lots of interesting matchups going on this weekend, both in college and the NFL. I plan on sitting on my couch and watching a lot of football over the next 48 hours. We'll start with the college football scene. Number 16, Duke at Florida State. I'm taking the Seminoles here.
I am too. Had Duke pulled out the win against Notre Dame, it might be a different conversation, but they had a 1-point lead, and it was 4th and 10. The quarterback's going anyway, and then I think Duke's quarterback got injured a little bit at the end of that game, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the Noles at home.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play also. Rutgers is at Indiana here. I will take the Hoosiers.
I will go ahead and take the squad from Jersey, Rutgers.
You will go with, what's Rutgers?
Scarlet Knights.
Scarlet Knights, yes, I knew that, yes. Number 14, Utah at number 18, USC. I think that Caleb Williams and the Trojans will bounce back here. Give me USC.
Yeah, I'll go ahead with home field. They did not look good at Notre Dame, but Notre Dame they were at home. Yeah. They had just come off an ugly loss to Louisville, so Notre Dame, it's probably a trap game for USC, so I think they'll bounce back.
Number 17, Tennessee at number 11, Alabama. My good buddy Bryce Northcott is down there at Tuscaloosa for that game today. I'm not going to pick in his favor, though. I'm going to go Alabama here at home.
I'm going to do the same. It's going to be a good game, but I'm going to go ahead just because of home field and just because the bitter taste in their mouth from Tennessee storming the field last year at Neyland Stadium. I'm going to go ahead and say Roll Tide.
I think it's going to be a great game, though, between those two teams. Here's the big one that I know I'm going to watch here in about an hour and a half. Number 7, Penn State at number 3, Ohio State. This is, talk about a coin flip here. Both teams undefeated. Ohio State, a couple of ugly wins, to say the least. But I'm going to go, we are. Give me the Nittany Lions here winning this game. I'm going to go Penn State.
I'm just going simple formula just because they're at the Horseshoe. There's something about playing at the Horseshoe that is just one of the most daunting places to play in all of sports. And I'm just going to put Ohio State by a field goal.
Okay. It's going to be a fun one to watch today. Now for the NFL matchups going on tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. The Detroit Lions travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. I'll ask you first, Chris. Who do you got here winning this one?
And I want to lean with the Ravens just because they always win games that they're not supposed to on paper, but they are at home. They are tough, but something about the Lions mojo this year. I'm just going to go ahead. Dan Campbell and the Lions pull it out.
I don't want to pick the Ravens, but I agree with the fact that they somehow managed to win games they're not supposed to win. And Lions, I think, have won 5 in a row, so they're due for a loss. I would like the Lions to win to help the Steelers out in the AFC North, but I will go with the Ravens there at home. The Browns at the Colts. I don't know what the Browns quarterback situation is. I do know the Colts are without Anthony Richardson the rest of the year. Given with it being in Indianapolis, I'm going to go with the Colts getting the upset here over Cleveland.
I'm going to go with Colts simply because of what the Browns did last Sunday, pulling out a game they shouldn't have against the 49ers. But you missed 2 kicks, and anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Get
off my lawn.
Different talk, different day.
Get off my lawn.
Big one of the AFC West tomorrow afternoon. I mean tomorrow night. Chargers at the Chiefs. Give Mahomes and company at home.
I'll do the same. Anytime I pick San Diego, they lose. So I'm just going to go with the Chiefs for that reason.
They just find a way to lose games. It's honestly unbelievable. Should be another good one tomorrow. The Dolphins at the Eagles. Eagles have a couple of big injuries here. Miami had a rough start last week, but came back to beat Carolina. I'm going to go with the home team here. Give me Philadelphia.
Well, it's interesting. I talked about my 49ers laying an egg. The Eagles lost to the Jets last week.
Did.
That was another game they kind of laid an egg there. So it's just going to be interesting to see how Philly bounces back from that. But at home, the Dolphins are probably the least talked about one-loss team in the league right now. Don't forget that's a team that put up, 70 points?
Well, I saw a stat. They, I think, are the first team in NFL history to have 15 rushing touchdowns and 15 passing touchdowns through 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever we've played on. I think the Steelers have scored 4 offensive touchdowns all year, so I can't even imagine to have an offense that could score like that. But yes, you are right.
Yeah, and for that reason, the Dolphins don't know what they can do offensively. And their head coach, he looks more like a computer programmer. He looks like an IT tech for a big company. It doesn't look like a football coach, but obviously he knows he must put some algorithms to the test because he can make that team score points. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and stay with Philadelphia. I think they bounce back at home.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game to watch tomorrow. That game is in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Last one tomorrow afternoon, the Green Bay Packers travel to Denver. Man, the Broncos have just looked rough this year. Packers haven't looked great either, but I will take Green Bay on the road here.
Interesting. I'll go ahead and agree with you. I'd say
Broncos are due for a win, but man, they just
Broncos and the Bears are just yeesh.
Yeah.
I don't know if they could win the SEC. Either one of those teams right now.
Now that's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
But there's our terrible 10 pick'ems for this week. 5 college games, 5 NFL games. Lots of football watching going on in the Carter household, at least for the next 48 hours. I think Chris is going to the pumpkin patch today with the grandkids. Is that what you said?
We're going to the pumpkin patch
today. Great day for it.
It's
great weather today.
Day, yeah. So it'll be organized chaos, but I'll be in the middle of it.
All right, I want to say a big thanks to Haley Winkleman across the hallway for getting us on the air. And a reminder, tonight, the IHSA will announce the playoff field for all 8 classes, and you can keep refreshing the WRUL Facebook page. I believe that will be around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, not 100% sure. And we'll find out who Carmi plays and where it will be at, and we'll post that as soon as we can. We'll go ahead and sign off for the day. Coming up at 10 o'clock here on 97.3 is the Little Egypt Saturday Showcase with Luke Nelson. Chris, anything you want to mention before we hit the road for the day, for the weekend?
Well, just, it was a great season, for the Bulldogs. And as Kurt Simon had told us, the number one goal, if you don't go undefeated when you're is get in the postseason.
Yeah.
And people can look at that and say, well, you just made the playoffs, but first round. But it's a tremendous accomplishment for any football team because unlike other sports, football postseason you have to earn it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that in a discrediting way. I mean, you have to win to get in. There are some states where all teams get in the right. Thank you. Everyone gets in the postseason. Other sports, everyone's in. I've always said the unique thing about football here in Illinois is you have to earn your way in. So by doing that, that means you got to win enough games. You got to take care of business during the regular season. And 7-2 season is nothing to sneeze at. Given the injuries we talked about and So for everything these boys have, all the obstacles they faced, they've had a really good regular season, and congratulations, kudos to them for earning a spot in the postseason. Now let's go see if we can get a win.
All right, so again, me and Chris will talk to you again next Saturday. We'll have a sports show before the playoff game, wherever we have to travel next weekend. So for Chris Myers, I'm Cole Carter. Have a great weekend, sports fans. This has been the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROI AM 1460.